I think most of you out there have heard of the Philando Castile case, and probably most of you are also now aware that the gentleman that shot him is acquitted of the charges. He has been acquitted of any manslaughter charges, the officer that actually fired on Philando Castile, ending his life. Now, Philando Castile was a legal gun owner. He was permitted to carry a firearm. He was committing no crime when he was pulled over. The officer decided to pull him over simply because he fit the description of a suspect, was not doing anything wrong. It escalated into Philando Castile losing his life. Now, I don't know if you've ever paid much attention to these jury trials when police officers are on trial for killing a civilian, but the instructions pretty much come down to if the officer felt that that individual was actually a threat to them, they're justified in taking their life. And that is so wrong, in my opinion. We should not be allowing this standard to actually exist in this country. I think every law-abiding citizen out there should be able to be a threat to a police officer if the need arises. I don't think police officers' job is to dominate us. We, as legal, law-abiding citizens, have the right to carry a firearm. We have a right to defend ourselves. And that doesn't just mean against other civilians or citizens. That means against police officers too, who are also civilians. I hate to break it to them. They're not in the military like they like to seem to think they are. So we have a right to be every bit as capable offensively and defensively as any police officer. And saying that they have the right to kill us simply because we are as offensively or defensively capable as them, that shouldn't stand in this country, and no gun owner should support that. You shouldn't support that idea. I know a lot of people, they're like, well, good, I'm glad he got off. Why? Why would you be glad that he could justifiably kill someone simply because they had a gun? Remember, this guy had done nothing else. He had no criminal record, had not committed a crime, was not even suspected of a crime at the time he was shot. This police officer panicked when he notified him that he had a firearm, something that a lot of states require you to do when you get pulled over. You're required to notify the police officer that you're licensed to carry and you have a gun on you. Some states you're not, but some states you are. He notified the police officer. And here's a little bit of a tip for you if you've never gone through police training. Bad guys don't tell you things like, I've got a gun. They just don't do it. If someone tells you, I've got a gun in my glove box, etc., they're probably someone who's not wanting any trouble. That police officer should have known that from the bat. That should have influenced the situation. Instead, he decided to draw his gun and shoot Philando Castile after he told him he had a weapon. Now, he claims that he put his hands on his gun and kept his hand on the gun. But the forensic evidence in the trial did not support that at all. He had bullet wounds to his gun hand that was over by his seatbelt, trying to take his seatbelt off when the police officer shot him. There was no forensic evidence to show that a bullet ever struck anywhere near where his gun would be or any part of his body near where his gun would be. So this whole notion that he had his hand on his gun when the police officer shot him was disproven in court, but he still got off. So I just don't like this at all, and I can't see how any gun owner can support it. Oh, and one more thing, I want to, give a big salute to the NRA for once again reinforcing the stereotype that, the NRA and all gun owners are just a bunch of old white bigots that don't care about anything but their guns, because they've totally ignored this situation when they should have been standing behind Philando Castile, a legal law-abiding gun owner that was shot while not committing a crime. I guess no matter how many YouTubers Wayne LaPierre buys, he still is a moron. So that aside, I'm really disappointed in the NRA, let's just say that. But like I said, I think you and I should always be on equal footing with the police officers. Police officers, when they need to overcome someone that's a threat to them, they use numbers. Because all other police officers are going to support this officer if he gets in a conflict with someone else who's equally as armed as him. And if civilians are doing something wrong, like I'm out robbing a bank or something, or abusing a child, and a police officer comes on me and I draw my gun, do you think every other civilian is going to support me? No, they're not. They're going to be against me because I'm the bad guy. But if it ever turns into a time where I'm the good guy and the cops are the bad guys, every other civilian should be able to band with me, and we should be able to easily overcome any police force in our area. No police force in an area should be able to have the power to dominate an entire region, the region that they serve, because that's not their jobs. Like I said, they're there to enforce the peace, and they're there to enforce the law, not to dominate the population. I don't understand when this changed. Back in my day, the whole buzzword, the most important part of every confrontation was de-escalation. Nowadays, and believe me, when I went back and thought about going back into law enforcement, the entire emphasis in the training seemed to be about domination now, not de-escalation. And to me, that's totally wrong. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, police officers nowadays, they have to worry about getting shot more than ever. That's bullshit. That's total bullshit. There are less police officers shot every year now than there was in the 60s and the 70s. In fact, it's about the same number as there were in the 50s right now. That's the same amount of people shot. But then you got to remember, there weren't as many cops in the 50s as there are now. So their chances of getting shot have been going down and down and down and down, but they keep using a false narrative, a lie, to justify overreaction and the slaughter of innocent people, the murder of innocent people, based on the fact that they could have possibly been a threat to me. So therefore, all I have to say is, hey, I told him to jump on one foot and he didn't do it, so I shot him because he disobeyed an order. That's ridiculous. Someone should have to actually do something to be a threat before they can be executed for it. And it shouldn't be up to police officers to just be judge, jury, and execution anytime they feel threatened. That's part of the job. If you don't feel threatened, then you're probably not doing your job. And if you can't handle being threatened, then you shouldn't be a police officer. You shouldn't be doing the job. It's part of the job. There's risk involved. The vast majority of people you deal with every day are going to be no threat to you. And the ones that are a threat to you, it's pretty obvious up front most of the time. And if you're in a situation where you don't know if it's a threat to you or not, and you're afraid you might overreact, well, bring in some backup first. There was nothing to stop this officer from retreating to his car and calling for backup when Philando Castile said, I have a gun. But no, he has to be a big tough guy and pull his gun and make ridiculous demands, contradictory demands according to the testimony, like get your wallet and don't move, and then execute him. So I guess I just want to say, I think all of us should be able to inflict harm on the police if we have to. In fact, I think if the majority of anyone in any county, or the majority of any citizens in any county, decided the police are wrong and we're going to stand up to them, we should have the ability to do so, and they should not be able to overpower us. They are not an occupying force. So I don't like this whole notion that any person who's armed is a threat to an officer. Because I'm armed. If I go out and get caught littering tomorrow, does the officer have the right to shoot me if he sees my gun? Because he's like, hey, he could have gotten mad at me and shot me because I gave him a ticket for littering. No, that should not be the world we live in. So anyone out there that isn't enraged by this jury decision, well, I don't think you're paying close enough attention. I think you're letting other things cloud your judgment, because this was clearly a case of someone being executed simply because he was carrying a firearm. And the NRA not standing up on this, like I said, is a big disappointment.